Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about the discriminant. It's in the quadratic formula. It's easy. So if you forgot the quadratic formula, shame on you. How could you? Here's the quadratic formula again for you. And this is where ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Sometimes you're going to have a value over here to the right hand side. You just want to move it over if we're using the quadratic formula to solve. The discriminant, which is the title of this video, is extremely special. It's very special. Like me. Like Titan. Like you. It's a calculation that allows us to identify the types of solutions we're going to get when we solve the quadratic formula or when we solve with it. Now, what is the discriminant? Well, the discriminant is just the value or just the expression part underneath the radical sign. So it's not the radical, it's just the stuff underneath. B squared minus 4ac. That is the discriminant. Now, what do we do with the discriminant, or what does it tell us? Well, like I said, it helps us find the types of solutions that we're going to have with the quadratic formula. And if you're familiar with the quadratic formula in any way, in terms of solving things, you know that there's a whole bunch of different solutions we're going to get when we use it. So here's the discriminant again. And again, remember, it doesn't have the radical part. It's just the stuff underneath. Here are the types of solutions we're going to get when we evaluate the discriminant. So the first type, we will get a positive result, or when we get a positive result, like when we evaluate this thing and there's a number that's plus, like a positive, we will have two real solutions, meaning we can have whole numbers, we can have rational numbers, they can be fractions, decimals, whatever. That's what happens when we solve this thing or evaluate this thing and we get a positive result. If we evaluate this thing, the discriminant, and we get a 0 result, meaning like this whole thing becomes just 0, that means we're only going to have one real solution. And the reason for that is because, remember back to the quadratic formula, if I get 0 under the radical sign, well, the square root of 0 is just 0. And then whatever number's in front, it's plus or minus 0. Well, adding something to 0 and subtracting something with 0 on the back end is the same value, right? So let's say we had 5 plus 0. Well, that's 5. 5 minus 0. That's 5 too. So when we get a 0 result from this discriminant, we're just going to get one solution, and it has to be real. Now, a negative result, once we evaluate the discriminant, will give us two imaginary solutions. And that makes sense, because if I evaluated this discriminant and I got a negative, remember that the square root's still there. So we cannot take the square root of a negative result, which means that we're going to have imaginary solutions, which means I is going to be present. So let's go ahead and try a few examples. I left the rules up here with the discriminant. Example 1, 4x squared plus 7x minus 1. Now, I don't want to go ahead and solve this. That's just for another video. But let's just use the discriminant to see what kind of solutions we'll get. So first we want to label our points. 4 is A, 7 is B, and C is negative 1. So let's just plug it in. B squared will be 7 squared, or 49, minus 4 times A, which is 4, times C, which is negative 1. Okay, well, this will be 49 minus 4 times negative 1. Now, let the calculator do the work for you. We don't even need to radical this or square root. We're just going to plug in what we see. And I get a positive result. 65 is the answer. Now, certainly that's not a perfect square, but again, for purposes of the discriminant in this video, I don't really care. So 65 is a positive result, which means if we were to solve this quadratic function, we would get two real solutions. Done deal. Let's go to number 2. Negative 7 is my A value, 9 is my B value, and negative 10 is my C value. Let's plug it in. 9 squared minus 4 times A, which is negative 7, times C, which is negative 10. Okay, well, let's plug it into the formula and see what we get. 81 minus 4 times negative 7 times negative 10 is negative 199. Okay, well, that's a negative result, which means we have to get, or we're going to get, two imaginary solutions. Okay, and again, let's move on, because again, we don't want to solve this quadratic just here. Example 3, A is 1, B is 8, and C is 16. Again, we're going to use the discriminant for us. 8 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 16. So let's plug it in the calculator. 64 minus 4 times 1 times 16, and that's 0. Huh, what a coincidence. 0 means that we're only going to have one real solution. So we've got our solutions. Hopefully you understand the discriminant. It's actually pretty simple. If you get a positive result, you got to have 2 real solutions. A negative result is 2 imaginary solutions, and 0 is 1 real solution. There are no other options. So let's finish up. Things to remember about this video. Number 1, the discriminant is only the stuff under the radical. Stuff's not really professional, but I couldn't think of another word. Number 2, the discriminant tells us what kinds of solutions we're going to have when we evaluate it. Again, if you have a positive under the radical sign, meaning a positive result after evaluating the discriminant, you will have 2 real solutions. If it's a negative result, you'll have 2 imaginary solutions, and if it's 0, you're going to have only 1 real solution. And then number 3, let the calculator do the work for you. That's what it's there for. The calculator is perfect for solving the quadratic formula, and especially working with the discriminant. See you next time.